What's going on, guys? It's your boy Stevie G coming at you with another episode of the Seamless Garage Podcast. And in this episode, I want to talk about something that's common in the field. It's kind of a level change. When you become a mechanic, there's levels to it, just like everything else in the world. There's levels to it, and as you learn, you get better. But this is something that if you can pick up, it's like a lot of other things I teach on this channel, where if you pick it up, it will set you up for another level. You will go to another level, and you'll be above and beyond your competition. I know that it's not always about, beating the guy that's next to you, but if you can kind of stand out and you can kind of, not even that, let's just take that out of the picture. Let's just say you're the only tech in the shop. Just so you can be better for your own self. I don't know about everybody else. I'm sure it's the same way. For me, I want to be the best that I can be. So I try to pick up tidbits. I try to do everything the best way I can. And I learn from my mistakes. So what I'm about to talk about, I've done before. I've made this mistake before, okay? But I don't do it anymore. And it's taken me to a whole nother level. And yes, I said another level. I'm Southern, so we kind of say things weird. But it's a whole other level, okay? It just takes you to the next level. So I'm going to quit rambling on. We're going to get into it. So what I'm talking about is making sure that you're diagnosing the actual problem instead of the symptom. Now, that can get tricky. If you're not a diagnostic tech, but you want to be a diagnostic tech, this is going to help you out tremendously. In my personal opinion, every technician that touches a car should know how to diagnose. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues, right? Well, that's a whole nother podcast, but being able to diagnose is very important, even if you're an R&R guy, because you're going to run into issues, or you're going to do something that didn't fix it. Or you introduced an issue to the vehicle that wasn't already there, and now you've got to figure out what it is. You know what I mean? And you need to do it yourself. You know what I mean? You don't need to have somebody else help you with your issues while they're trying to do other things. So you need to be self-sufficient, right? So with that being said, you got to figure out what the problem is. The very common one is when people replace catalytic converters, right? Oh, well, the cat went bad, okay? The catalytic converter went bad, and it's clogged up, or it's throwing a code, or whatever. It's not efficient anymore. It doesn't do its job anymore, and you've got to replace it. Well, the thing about cats is that they don't just quite simply fail, especially not earlier, not before 100K, even 200K, you know what I'm saying? Catalytic converters are very expensive, and they do their job very well, unless it has been replaced by a cheap one from a parts store, a couple $100. They're usually close to the $1,000 range for a cat. So, but we won't get into that. That's common. People will commonly replace a catalytic converter, but they won't find out why. They won't figure out why it failed. That's always the first question that pops in my head when I find the symptom or I find what's failed. My first question is, okay, why did it fail? How did it fail? Okay, we got to go through that, right? So let's go through that real quick, and then we'll get back onto the cat situation. Why did it fail, and when did it fail? Okay, you look at the concern, right? You look at see what happened to it. Is it due to age? If it's due to age, okay, we can pass the buck on to that, and we can move on. We can replace the part and ship it on down the road after we do our really good road testing, right? Let's make sure that we're testing these vehicles out after we fix them, and not just shipping them up front and giving them to the customer, because that's annoying to have to come back. But let's make sure that we're fixing the problem, okay? So when you check it out, if it's easy to say that it's due per mileage. It is easy. It's easy to say that it failed because it's old. That is easy. I mean, anybody can come up with that, right? Anybody can just say that. But most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time when something fails like that, If it's not a general maintenance item, something caused it to fail. Whether that be heat, the cold, whether that be an electrical issue, whether that be a injector driver making it fail. You know what I'm saying? You have to figure out what's actually going on. So let's go back to the cat situation. When a cat fails, the reason it's going to fail is because it's going to get clogged up by particles of something. Something's gotten in there and clogged it up, or it got entirely too hot. Okay? How does it get entirely too hot? Several situations. It can go both ways, actually. It can get really hot from a really lean situation, which could be from a misfire due to a clogged injector, right? That can be a very lean situation. That could get it so hot that it messes up and that it fails, and it'll break inside, actually. And it'll cause another blockage, which means the engine won't run good, you know, all those good things. But it can also fail from too much fuel. You can kill a cat with an injector that's stuck open, or with a misfire where the fuel's not being burned and it's getting into the exhaust stream. So these are things that can happen. You got to figure out why. Not just, okay, let's replace the cat. Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen a cat replaced, and in 2 months it's back. And guess what? The cat's clogged again, or the cat has failed again. And now, unless we catch it, they'll throw another cat on it and ship it out the door. But if it's a good technician, they catch it and go, look, this has already been replaced once. We got to figure out what's causing it. Another thing to add on to that pertaining to the cat and the exhaust stream is your O2 sensors. You know, you'll have codes set for an O2 sensor, a failed O2 sensor, right? Or it'll be a code set for a failed cat. A lot of times that failed cat code is actually a failed O2 sensor, a secondary O2 sensor, which checks on the health of the catalytic converter. But it's not doing its job and it fails, okay? Electronic components fail. So you just have to make sure you're diagnosing the right thing. It can be tricky, I understand. Everybody has misdiagnosed something and everybody has made a mistake. But I'm just here to bring this up to you to give you something to think about. So, you know, right off the top of my head, I don't have any more examples, but just make sure. Okay, let's go to another one. Mass airflow sensor, okay? A bug got in it. Okay, well, how? Right? Mass airflow sensors fail a lot due to bugs getting into them. Usually after the air filter's been checked, right? So you ask yourself, okay, how did a bug get in there? You don't just replace it, right, or blow out the bug. You got to figure out how. Is there even an air filter in the air box? Is the box put together properly? Is the air filter installed properly? Is the air filter installed upside down and now allowing all that trapped debris that it already had go into the engine, into the mass airflow sensor? These are things you have to think about. I know this is very, you know, simple, and it seems very simple, but I'm telling you, it's important, and it's what changes a next level technician to a mediocre technician is checking out the whole concern. Yes, the customer's going to be upset a little bit because they're spending more than what they would at another shop that's just going to replace that part for them. But if you reassure them that you're doing the right thing and that it will not come back and that you're going to fix the issue for good, they're more inclined to actually handle that, and they'll trust you from there on out. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind when you're doing that. So I'll close out with this. Just keep this in mind. When you're diagnosing a vehicle, it comes in for an issue, and you see a symptom, find out why that symptom is there. Figure out what's going on. Use common sense and your common knowledge that you know about vehicles to figure out why it's doing what it's doing. That takes a whole understanding of systems, okay? I'm not going to go into that, but that takes a whole understanding of systems and how the engine works, how the vehicle works. Whatever you're diagnosing, you need to understand how the system works first before you can even diagnose it, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to know what I'm talking about when I say what caused it, because you're not going to know what else is in the system that could cause that issue, okay? So do your research. You know, I've got other episodes talking about doing your research and updating your knowledge on all of this and making sure that you know what you're doing before you touch it. So find the symptom, diagnose the vehicle, find the symptom. Figure out why that symptom's going on, whether it be a misfire or whatever. Figure out what's going on with the symptom. Figure out what caused it. Did it happen on its own? Is it just a simple part failure of itself? Can anything else make it fail? These are things you need to look at, okay? And then, you know, obviously you're not always going to catch everything. Sometimes you don't know until, let's say it's one where it doesn't run. You won't know what caused it to not to fail. Let's say it's a fuel pump that failed. You won't know what caused it to fail until you put that fuel pump in and retest. So make sure when you're sending it through to the customer, or you're talking to your customer, tell them, look, the fuel pump has failed. Now, I'm not certain that it failed on its own. I don't know if it failed on its own or if something caused it to fail. We're going to have to go into it. We're going to have to put the fuel pump in, get it running, and then I want to do another diagnostic test to make sure everything's safe and sound. And if it is, we'll bring you your vehicle. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to beat a dead horse on that one. Just make sure that you're finding out what's actually wrong with the vehicle and not replacing the symptom. That's all I'm going to say. So I know this one's short and sweet and straight to the point. I hope it is anyway. So let me know if you got any questions about that. Give me some advice. Give us some advice. You know, comment below if you're on the YouTube channel, if you're on the podcast. Send me a DM, you know, put it in the review section, whatever. If you got some advice on diagnosing, I would love to hear it, and I'd love to spread the knowledge if it's something I think is useful. So with that being said, you know, make sure you're checking out the weekly podcast. If this is your first time checking this out, make sure you're checking out the weekly YouTube channel. They're both called The Seamless Garage. Check those out. You know, make sure if you like it, you know, subscribe so you get all the new updates and everything going on. And be on the lookout for these to release, these shirts here. The black with the white logo on it. I'm loving these shirts. I've got a few out right now, but we haven't actually released the sale yet. So that'll be coming soon. So be able to find out what I want to do with it and see if I want to change the logo a little bit. And there's going to be different designs going on. So, but in order to know about that, get on the Instagram page, either on, you know, Stevie G, the real Stevie G, that's me on Instagram, or the Seamless Garage Instagram. And also you can get on the Facebook Seamless Garage fan page, and there'll be updates there. But with that being said, I want to thank y'all for checking it out, and we'll see you on the next episode. Later.